Okay, here goes nothing. This is where I left off on my last video. This is my painting of time. It's in progress, and I have a few more things to do on it before I am done. So let me catch you up.
Welcome to my channel.
As you probably saw in my last video, I already had my hand painted on my panel. I painted the background first, and then now I'm applying my values to my hand. I had a bit of a timid start and didn't document the whole process, but I did pretty good and I was pretty satisfied with how this hand turned out. Once my hand was fully painted, I moved on to the sand mound. I took a tool and I just pressed it into my watercolor mixed with water and pressed it into the panel. I built this up until I was ready to apply a 3D texture, but first I needed to wrap my fingers in a masking tape, and then I took a palette knife and applied that 3D texture onto my sand mound. Then I made some room for these drips, and I applied the same technique that I did to the sand mound onto this portion.
I've decided that I'm gonna have to redo this side because there's some like silvery watermarks I need to get rid of. I plan to add a nice bubbly like cloud horizon, and I might have that kind of come down and add to the drama here. And then I think I decided that I'm gonna add a little bit more sand drips. I think I'll have a few more that are coming off on the sides and maybe behind the palm here. That way we can have a little bit more drama, a little bit more dimension. I'm loving how this is turning out. It's a great size.
I carved out some space for these sand drips and decided to redo my background. Now I'm going in with some color, just laying down the foundation, and then I'm going to apply my dots and 3D dots on there.
Exciting news. These videos are about to get so much better. Well, let's hope. So I just upgraded myself from my iPhone 13. That's, from my iPhone 13 to a 17 Pro. Ooh. So I was thinking, since my iPhone 13 is dying, I figured, well, I could either replace the battery or I could just get a new phone. And since I really did want a camera upgrade, I was like, well, this camera is rocking. So right now I'm obviously streaming on the 13 and have been these whole videos. Yeah, I'm making some major upgrades, and the rest of this video will be done on the iPhone 17 Pro, and obviously all the ones from here on out. So get ready for some better lighting, better views, clarity. I really do hope, and maybe stability. I really do hope that these videos are going to be so much better. I think my next steps, this is looking really great. This is a really nice drama. I love how it's just flowing. However, I think I want this, some more tiny little bubbles up in here, just so I can push this back to make it look more like a flat horizon. That's going to be really cool. I kind of want to play with creating more of an atmosphere in the top portion. Maybe taking my crusties, my little bubbles, and putting them up in here like little cloud wisps, like little flat horizon clouds. So I love and hate that this is on panel board. I love that it's on panel board because I'm getting some really cool textures, and I can kind of have like an infinite amount of tries doing it and kind of just like start over. However, I'm realizing that some of my techniques that I use on paper, I can't use on panel board because it's going to just, if if I put any more water to try to do some layering, it just kind of like reanimates everything, and then I'm not getting the same effect at all. So it can be really frustrating.
Getting the effect I want on panel board with this background is proving to be incredibly challenging. So what I've discovered is that if I create a blotch of kind of a bubble of water with my color and then go through with some alcohol and poke it right in the middle, it presses the color to the outside and it creates a hard ring. And then because it's on panel board, it's going to take a long time to dry. So then I need to go and blot it with some paper towel immediately. So I can get mainly just the ring and have more of this clear center that would basically happen on paper, but doesn't happen on panel.
Okay, I took my paper towel, ripped it up, and I created these like clouds. I just needed a visual to help me understand where I was wanting to place everything. So I think this is kind of what it's going to look like. Obviously, it's not going to be white. It's going to be in this like blue color and texture, and it's going to be really, really light. And I want it to just be like more dense to getting further away looking, probably even skinnier as it goes atop. So these are not necessarily correct in how like thick they're going to be per se. They're going to get a little thinner as they go up and probably lighter in color. And yeah, this is more like placement. So I'm just going to take one off at a time, do a little bit, and go from there. Okay, here goes nothing. It's still kind of dried. I'm really loving how this is turning out. I'm going to let this sit until I'm done with the rest of my collection, and then I'll go through and I'll make adjustments as needed. This kind of turned into a more atmospheric piece than I was anticipating, but I'm not against it. I did want there to be an atmosphere, but I didn't realize I was going to actually do some clouds and something that was a little bit more recognizable. This is super great. This was turning out kind of how I had it in my mind anyway. And so I'm not going to seal this up. I'm just going to allow it to stay and put it aside and then carry on to the next piece. Thank you so much for following along as I hash out this 2026 art collection. It is definitely giving me a run for my money. It has so many challenges ahead of me because I am doing watercolor on panel board. I've done some experiments, but I've never really gone full send into doing this, and especially a collection. These are also some of my biggest pieces, and I'm playing with some mediums that I'm not incredibly familiar with as well, like the watercolor ground and alcohol, just like different things that I'm trying. So the next step I have is I'm gonna let this piece sit aside, and then I'm moving on. The next piece I plan to tackle is going to be Generations. This is going to be a super fun piece and in a similar vibe as this one. Obviously, the collection is cohesive in its own way, but there's going to be some drips. So I'm going to be taking a lot of the techniques that I learned and did for this painting time into Generations. The colors are going to be slightly different, and it's still going to have kind of more of an ethereal, atmospheric vibe to it. So I think it's going to fit right in, and I'm going to probably be able to do this one a lot faster. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and leave a comment on your own artistic process or any thoughts you have about mine, or even how I'm making this video. I am improving them slowly and surely with the equipment that I have, as well as just trying to get the hang of making videos while I'm doing my process at the same time. So thank you so much for enjoying these and hanging out with me. Until next time.
Thank you for watching.